Getting proper mental health care can help you feel more like you. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, insomnia, relationship issues, workplace stress, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can use your FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
ACAST powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Yeah. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right. So search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
ACAST helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hello. It's Dave here, and this is my wife, Cathy.
Hello.
And you're listening to The Cinemile. It's the podcast where we sit in our car at a Halloween-themed drive-thru.
We're so excited. We are the podcast who record their walk home from the movies, but we are currently at our first ever drive-in cinema.
Yeah, I think drive-in? Drive-through. Oh no, drive-through is McDonald's in that. Oh yeah, it's not that.
You don't
drive-through cinema. You just like watch 5 minutes of it as you drive past.
I'm so excited. I feel like I'm in Grease or American Graffiti or Rebel Without a Cause. Like, they're the vibes I'm getting right now. Except if they were spooky.
Spooky Grease.
This is incredible. It's completely contactless. We've just driven here. We're in our car.
Yeah, this experience was made for the COVID age.
It was made for COVID winter.
And a lot of our American listeners might be confused as to our excitement about this experience.
This does not happen. I believe they cropped up in the last few years in Ireland. We've never been to one. We've been to lots of outdoor cinemas, but this is actually better because it's so comfy. A car, in an outdoor cinema, you're like a picnic blanket in it. You get really uncomfortable after a while.
It's kind of fun in the summer, though.
Don't get me wrong. I love an outdoor cinema, but this is really fun because we're sitting in our own car, which is like quite comfy.
And if anyone if you can hear this music in the background, it's because the setup here. So I understood like drive-through. So drive-throughs are, as Cathy said,
you mean drive-in?
Drive-ins are not a thing. Drive-in cinema is not a thing in the UK and Ireland, really. Apparently it is now. But I always thought from American movies that it's like you tune in on your radio, and I think that was the old school way of doing it. But now they hand you this like giant like speaker which you put on your dashboard. It's got a little screen and everything with a QR code so you can order food to your car. This is awesome.
But we didn't know you could do that.
And it's got music playing from it, which is what you're hearing now.
We ate before we came, sadly. Would not have done if we'd realised.
But it's awesome, and it just opens a menu on your phone, and you can order anything to your car, and you've got...
We're so excited. By the way, these guys are not paying us to plug them. We need to stop talking through all the mechanics of it.
Well, we didn't actually plug...
What are we here to see?
So it's the Luna Cinema. Let's give them the plug.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We're at the Luna Cinema at Thorpe Park in Surrey, if anyone is interested, and they're doing a Halloween series of specials.
And we're going to see the only movie that we could make... Casper, the friendly ghost.
Or just Casper, but...
is it not called Casper?
I think the movie's just called Casper. But he is the friendly ghost. That is his moniker.
And I love that it's like, when you come in, it's like, prepare to be terrified. And you're like, we're coming to see Casper.
I know, right?
Like, tonight... No, over some of the nights, there are going to be some proper scary ones. Like, there's going to be Hereditary. There's going to be Hereditary. There's going to be Joker, which I wouldn't quite class as a Halloween movie.
No,
There's going to be Alien, which Dave was keen on, and I wasn't, having already watched Aliens this year. But actually,
well, it was a bit late. And Ghostbusters, my favourite movie ever, was
Ghostbusters is sold out.
But is it? Right.
Yeah. But I'm so excited for Casper. I don't quite remember it, but I have very, very fond memories of enjoying it. Do you remember it?
I do. I have very distinct memories of this.
Oh.
I remember the movie very well. Bill Pullman's in it.
I know
as
Christina Ricci's in it.
Christina Ricci's, and I remember who. Do you remember who plays Casper? Because I do.
Oh, good question. What year was this? Early 90s?
Well, actually, I might have it wrong in my head. No, I'm not going to reveal that later.
I'm going to guess, for no reason, that it's the same kid who voiced Simba in The Lion King, a.k.a. a kid from Home Improvement.
Okay, I know. I think it's Macaulay Culkin. But I may be wrong. I realise that now.
Okay, well, thanks for that fun
and
fact.
I remember the plot. I remember the plot of this movie.
Well, no spoilers.
Okay, fine, if you don't want to know.
I remember that. I know Casper's a friendly ghost from the cartoon.
Yeah.
Casper,
the friendly ghost. He's a friendly little ghost. Classic.
But I'm absolutely petrified to be watching it on the big screen. The haunting Halloween movie here in our cars.
It's weird.
Teeing me up.
It's weird how much of this movie is coming to me now, which I saw once in the cinema many years ago.
See, I didn't see it in the cinema, so I'd say that's why.
I also have a distinct memory of the cinema experience, and I'll tell you why, because this is a very profound memory for me. And probably because we had cousins visiting, so shout out to Lauren and Ciara.
I'm sure they're listening.
And they visited us in Ireland. We went to to all our Cork listeners. Ooh. Twilight Zone. The old Capitol Cinema. Do you remember on
I do. This
Grand Parade.
intro was veering on very boring. So
let me finish my boring anecdote.
Okay,
get it out, regurgitated out of my system.
By the way, the movie's supposed to have started, but I can see a projectionist fiddling
I think
around.
it is about to start.
Okay, quick, tell us your incredible anecdote.
Oh my god, it's not going to be incredible. But I remember sitting in the car on the way home, and I must have been like 10 years old, and my cousins were like, I love that, that's the best movie I've ever seen. And then I pretty much just laid into it. I was like,
oh no
guys, I just didn't think it was that good in XYZ.
So you did a cinema.
Clearly I was like born for this for this life. But I just sat there like an asshole in the car telling them why their favourite movie ever.
So you were
wasn't any good.
mansplaining from a very young age.
Yeah, it's pretty much a dick move. And I just have this distinct memory of like one of them coming back at me with like, well, why don't you go watch Star Trek with all those stupid men flying around in a stupid spaceship? And I had no comeback to that.
You're like, Star Trek's amazing. Oh, but look, the movie's about to start. This is awesome. Can't wait. So excited. Basically thrilled. And I hope that this just goes on. I'm hoping that they sell so many tickets for this Halloween extravaganza that they just do this all winter. We just keep driving to the cinema.
Driving over here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Are you thrilled and terrified in equal measure?
I'm thrilled and terrified. I'm also really, really happy because as kind of lockdowns loom around the world again, I had a genuine fear that our last movie of the year in a cinema was going to be Bill and Ted 3. So at the very least it will be Casper. But we better go because as you'll all hear the spooky things coming out of the speaker.
Okay, well, we'll check in with you guys after we've seen Casper at the drive-in. Bye.
Bye.
For 100 years, he has wandered the halls of Whipstaff Manor. Waiting for someone.
There's a girl on my bed. Yes. Hi.
Casper.
Can you go invisible? That one's easy.
Now, life at Whipstaff Manor
Can I keep you?
will never be the same.
Cool.
Ghosts can't hurt you.
Guess again, bone bag!
Don't come near me, you spiteful spook.
We share haunting stories, we throw parties. Pull!
The parties are always pretty dead, though.
I feel like Oprah on hiatus.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
We have company.
Well, company loves misery. Boom! Take a hike!
Get a grade. Dad?
All for one and one for all. Catch your pants before they fall.
You guys are disgusting, obnoxious creeps.
Hi, we're back. The movie has ended. We're still in the car.
Yeah, this is like very exciting for us. A new way to be recording the podcast.
Yeah.
We're just constantly mixing things up on the cinema.
We're just cutting edge here. Sometimes we walk, sometimes we don't walk.
I realised two things watching this movie. One, I have actually never seen it before.
So you just thought you'd seen it? Or
I've
what?
like seen clips of it, and I've seen the cartoon, and I thought I'd seen the movie, and it turns out I did know the ending, so maybe I've seen a bit of the end. So I've never seen it in full. And secondly, it's like infinitely better than I thought it was going to be. It
yeah, same.
completely holds up.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a really good movie.
It's a great movie. It's
like,
really family friendly,
yeah.
but like I would say has real broad appeal. Like hits all the notes for adults.
It does. I really think if
you
you
can see kids enjoying it.
Yeah,
teenagers.
And if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it in a long time, actually, like, maybe turn this off and go off and watch it if you've any young people in your life, or just like us, you know, two losers in their mid-30s who want a night out.
I think we were one of the few cars that only contained adults. And I'll be honest, I mean, I was also pleasantly surprised by it, and I wasn't really that pumped to watch Casper, especially when like Ghostbusters and Alien and like movies like Hereditary were on offer, but we just kind of picked this because the time was the only one that suited us. But I'm really glad we watched it, and it's one I would definitely show to our boys when they're a little older.
Well, I was thinking Oscar, a 3-year-old. Actually, I don't think he'd be scared of it. I think he could watch it now.
There's a few it'd be interesting to look at the rating of this. I'd probably position it as a PG. There's a few mildly scary bits, but mostly it's really
safe. Family friendly.
It is, yeah.
And I think it's really good, and it has that essence of like a 90s family movie whereby it's genuinely funny, has a really good cast, is heartwarming, and also like a few kind of naughty jokes for the adults.
Yeah,
like quite naughty.
There's yeah, agreed. There's some good references here for the adults as well. It's filled with things that I would not have got at age 10.
No, and for anyone who hasn't listened to our podcast before, by the way, we're just going to chat about the movie with no spoilers, and then we'll go to spoiler street, so we won't spoil anything if
Can
you
we talk about the cameos?
Haven't seen it or don't remember it.
The cameos spoilers?
The cameos
aren't spoilers. This movie came out 25 years ago.
The cameos aren't spoilers.
Right, so here's the cameos in this movie, which are insane. Like Clint Eastwood, Mel Gibson,
albeit seeing Mel Gibson now isn't the cute thing it would have been back then.
Sure, well, or Clint Eastwood arguably, but Mr.
Rogers,
Mr. Rod. Well, that's kind of just his show is on.
Yeah.
But the skeleton from Tales from the Crypt was one I enjoyed.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and Dan Aykroyd as Ray Stantz from the Ghostbusters in full costume as a Ghostbuster.
Very
so basically,
unexpected.
This exists in the same universe as Ghostbusters.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
This is awesome.
And then not a cameo, but one of the smaller characters is one of the Monty Pythons.
Eric Idle is in this movie, yeah.
Bill Pullman's the dad.
Yeah, and cracking performance from Bill Pullman.
Brilliant.
Really good. Like, because we just watched The Sinner, season 3, and over on our plug for our Patreon, by the way, if you want to listen to a full episode on that. But that was a real dour 10 episodes with Bill.
That is Bill Pullman in his...
Jesus.
Bill Pullman dragging himself along, and like, as in his character is so slow moving and depressed and grim and like brutalized. And then you go to this, which is like a much younger Bill Pullman who's being very comedic, and it felt like such a breath of fresh air. And then, of course, the whole movie is linchpinned by the wonderful Christina Ricci, who's just like everything out of the park.
Can we? She's amazing. Can we just finish off Bill Pullman though and draw a line under him then? Because the thing that I was thinking about watching this again was like, oh yeah, like Bill Pullman's good at comedy.
Yeah, I didn't
know
that.
And he's a good, and I think it's interesting because there's an interesting distinction between being a good comedic actor and being, say, a comedian, right? And there is a difference. And I always remember Gene Wilder in an interview.
Will you turn on the engine because I'm kind of cold?
Yeah, sure. I always remember Gene Wilder in an interview saying, like, I am not a funny person. I'm the least funny person. And it was true because I've seen several interviews with him. And may he rest in peace, but he was a real dry balls in an interview. But he's a master comic actor.
Well, that's being a good actor, right?
And I think the same can be said of Bill Pullman, and not to say he's not a funny man. I'm sure he might be a funny man, but he's not an Eddie Murphy or a Bill Murray. Mm-hmm. But the man has good comic timing, and he also, what he brought to this role was like some real like pathos. Like, he's a grieving husband and a struggling father, and I emotionally invested in him and Christina Ricci's relationship. And yeah, as you just said, onto her, that I thought she was a real like delight.
She could just hold a movie. She was always amazing.
She's really good.
And she it's funny because this must have been after Addams Family, was it? If this was 1995?
Yeah, I'm gonna say with my phone in front of me, 93. I would put 92, 93. I'd put the Addams Family movies, and this is 95.
And it's interesting that the start of this movie is her basically lamenting how her parent keeps uprooting her and making her join all these new schools, which is her plot in Mermaids. The movie with Sharon Winona Ryder. Have you seen that? When she's much younger.
Yeah. I've seen. There's a famous bath scene.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Sorry, on that note about them, that's where we meet. Yeah, that's where we meet. What are you indicating
I'm
me
saying
to
turn
do?
off the engine.
Oh, right, okay,
now.
well, just tell me to do it. Like, you don't have to, just waving hand signals at me so the podcast people don't have to know. Now we've wasted more time. Anyway, so on the subject of, like, how we meet these characters, it's through, and as you said, she's somebody who's being uprooted. So, for anybody who doesn't remember, what are you doing?
How do we turn off the lights?
You press this one. There you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Are the lights bothering the podcast listeners as well? Are they? So fucking losing my train of thought here. When we meet them, you said they're like the setup for anyone who doesn't remember is that the father is Bill Pullman is a ghost psychiatrist, right?
Of course.
And the daughter, he's moving her from school to school. As it turns out, he's searching for her dead mother, right?
Who is judging Amy.
Yeah. And we meet them, we're introduced to these characters through a local news report, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because it's so incredibly judgmental. It starts as this sort of local James, Dr. James, blah, 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 believes he can speak to ghosts and he's helped all these people and blah, blah, blah. And it seems like this profile that he was sort of a part of. But then they cut to footage of a camera person on the other side of a fence trying to talk to Christina Ricci on her first day of school and harassing her. And she's like, "Can you please leave me alone? I don't want to talk about my dad." It was like, this is part of the piece that you agreed to.
It was like paparazzi following the children of a celebrity.
So bizarre. And then the newscaster introduces her and James is constantly moving with his loner daughter, and he continues to move, dragging his daughter with him. This insane judgment from this news feed.
Well, I think the movie was taking the piss a lot and actually being funny. And I think that was one of those scenes where it was being funny. And I love that basically Casper's watching that news segment, and then the woman, the kind of evil Cruella de Vil type woman who owns the house, is trying to get rid of the ghosts. He kind of pushes the TV in front of her so she sees the segment and calls them, and he fancies Christina Ricci. And it was really sweet, and I think visually it held up 100 times more than I expected it to hold up.
Yeah. 25 years.
It looks incredible.
Well, if you think of, we were talking recently about movies where humans interact with animated characters, right? And that's essentially what these are, and they are computer graphics. But they're real. They're cartoons essentially, and this is.
When you die, you turn into a see-through cartoon.
Yeah, unless you're judging Amy, but in which case you're not a cartoon. You're judging Amy. But the effects really hold up. This is post Who Framed Roger Rabbit, post Cool World with Brad Pitt as an example. So I feel like they kind of had the experience. It was just sort of switching the animation style, so to speak.
Well, do you want to hear? As we always do in our retro reviews, we do some fun facts. And while Dave was driving home, I was frantically Googling fun facts whilst making myself feel mildly carsick. So it's actually the first feature film to have a fully CGI lead character. Now that's okay. He is kind of the lead, and the movie is called Casper, but Christina Ricci is actually the lead. Let's just put that out there.
Well, the movie is named after him.
Yeah, so fair enough. Yeah. And when the actors were acting against them, it's not obviously an Andy Serkis performance. This was them acting against tennis balls at the end of poles, or sometimes actually acting across nothing, which I thought was a bit visible.
Once again, to the actors' credit, they were entirely convincing.
I think Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci were amazing with them.
Particularly when you look at what happened 4 years after this, when Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace came around.
Yeah, inexcusable. But wait till you hear how much went into it. So one of the reasons it was so difficult to do is because the characters were mostly see-through, which is a really challenging visual effect.
Oh, yeah.
And all this work took a long time. It took them 2 years to do these visual effects. And to put that into context, a single 2-minute scene could take upwards of 8 months of post-production work to accomplish. And funnily, kind of indicative of when the movie was made, the effects were said to require the equivalent of 19 million floppy disks to create.
Oh my God. Wow. So wait, I like to think that this is a literal calculation. Like they had to load a program using 19 million floppy disks.
There is a landfill.
They hired people to swap them in and out one after the other.
There's a landfill in California that's just the 19 million floppy disks from Casper. I'm amazed they managed to get it all onto a DVD for the purposes of this. But yeah, it holds up. It looked so much better than I was expecting. And then there's like some scenes where it's like the ghost of Casper, when he was alive, his dad was an inventor. And there's these kind of these funny things that you'd have as like a trope of like, of course an inventor does this. He invents this like kind of chair that moves through all these things that like wash you and spray like shaving gel on you and shave you and like put a dicky bow around your neck and like something that no one would ever invent. But it's almost like a ghost train, which was quite fun, and it's kind of like a roller coaster. And you can tell they built it. Like the set looks really expensive. It's
like the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. It's like a theme park ride.
It's like that, and you know,
we watched this in Thorpe Park, which was.
It's a mansion that's been subsequently used for a video. Can you guess what music video has been used for?
A music video in
the 90s.
Thriller.
In the 90s.
In the 90s.
Or early noughties, but I think 90s.
Backstreet's Back.
Yeah.
Backstreet's Back. Amazing. All right.
Yeah, it was awesome. So no, it really holds up. And like, I think, like, should we like just go to Spoiler Street now? Oh no, there was some things that I wanted to, which I thought were interesting. Is very much of its time in terms of cultural references. So there's like he says, "Come with me if you want to live," and then he takes her out. But then he's not doing Terminator; he's doing Superman. There was very overtly at one point that I was like, Casper is Cinderella to Dave, and that became more and more true as the movie went on. But in terms of the cultural relevance, at one point there was a bit that I thought I really didn't like that Dave didn't get, but I got it, which was a joke about Oprah, specifically about her weight. And obviously Oprah was huge back in the 90s and she famously had fluctuating weight, but I found it highly inappropriate to effectively have a fat joke about a famous woman in your movie, and it was just weird. Like, it took me out of the movie.
Yeah, I think these days the writers would be a bit more sensitive about that.
But it's also just, it's not funny. Like, I didn't get it.
And it's also, well, it's a movie also I'm not forgiving that joke, but that aside, this is a movie where one of the characters was called Fatso. And was just like gorging on food, and so they were just playing into fat jokes.
Yeah, it was just very much of its time. One of the things as well that like took me a while to get my head around was like, and I don't think it quite makes sense, was like the mechanics of it. Okay, so Casper and the other ghosts seem to be able to like physically manipulate the environment they're in.
And then turn into animated balloons.
They can suddenly make props.
Anvils.
So like 1 minute Casper's there, then the next minute he's got like a party hat on and like blowing a thing, you know, those things that make noises for parties, and like has balloons around him, and I'm like, how did he manifest those props? And then there's a couple of instances where the ghosts are able to touch the humans, but then when Casper and Christina Ricci try and hold hands, their hands go through each other. So I feel like for all the money they spent on this movie, could have spent a few more minutes.
Get it straight, Casper.
Get the
spend a few more minutes on your mechanics.
What? Did you have anything else? Oh, like had the tropes that I love of an American teen movie, like early teen movie. But there's like the big school dance. Yeah. There's a slightly kind of mean girl, and like a slightly dullard boy who follows her around.
Which doesn't really amount to much, but
no, it just felt like we were like, there's enough going on in here. Like,
there's a lot in this movie, but nothing.
For 90 minutes.
It's very well balanced. Like, it's just doesn't outstay its welcome. Everything is. It's got a surprise. It nips along. It's got a really good plot, I would say. It's got a couple of interesting twists along the way, and has a really good, strong resolution. And said it like honestly, it's a very, very good movie. I thought it was a real surprise and a real treat.
Can we get to the ending now? Because I want to discuss it.
Okay, so let's go to Spoilers Street. Spoiler car.
Spoiler driveway.
Spoiler driveway.
Yeah, we're on Spoiler driveway for Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah. Quick pause there.
Cut
Did
back.
you forget what we watched?
I was like trying to remember the name of it.
Right, so what do you want to discuss? So, sorry, I should address... I'm way off on Macaulay Culkin, right? It was Devon Sawa.
I still don't know who Devon Sawa is, but he was a dreamboat.
Devon Sawa is from Final Destination and Idle Hands.
So is he the lead guy in Final Destination?
Yeah, in the first one.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, and you should know if you're on spoiler driveway, at the end, judging Amy shows up as an angel, and she grants Casper a wish. And she basically says, "You are Cinderella," and this is where I was like, I knew it, because earlier on in the movie, Casper turns out is just a slave for his uncles. And so he cleans and cooks. And
his wicked step uncles.
He's abused by them and cooks and cleans all day. So I was like, oh, he's Cinderella. And then they say he's Cinderella. And then she says, you get to go to the dance and be a real boy. And he goes, but Cinderella...
So it's Pinocchio.
Cinderella got to do it till midnight. And she goes, Cinderella wasn't 12 years old, right? Fine. Turns out when she did this, it must have been at 9:50 p.m.
Yeah, because he has just enough time to walk down the stairs, have one quick dance, and then it's time to go back.
Which makes no sense. And we
dead.
need to backtrack a bit on the dance here, because Christina Ricci's first day in school, she stands up in front of the whole class just as the teachers announce that they have asbestos in the gymnasium, so they can't hold the school dance there. And Christina... someone suggests that they should hold the dance at her house, this brand new person in the classroom, and the teacher's like, cool. I'm like, you as a teacher can't just go along with a child's suggestion that a party would be held in someone else's house who's not consented to it.
Yeah, you need insurance,
health and safety.
Yeah,
it's a haunted mansion. They said it's
condemned. It's a condemned building. This teacher just pushed 30 students into a condemned building, and he doesn't even check with an adult. Instead, one of her classmates goes to her house to knock on the door and say, just checking if you've asked your dad if it's cool for us to host like a huge event at your house.
And we don't even see that scene. You know, the whole show don't tell thing. Like, I feel like we should have seen the scene where she went to her dad and said, can I hold a dance here? And then on the night, like, all the shenanigans are happening where she's like trying to bring Casper back from the dead. The evil Cruella de Vil woman dies wanting to come back as a ghost, which is very funny, actually. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, when her and Eric Idle are trying to kill each other for 10 minutes.
That was really enjoyable.
And there's a few more things on the cutting room floor there, because we did notice that suddenly he's wearing a full suite of armour.
And then the next scene, he's not wearing it again.
Yeah.
So all that stuff was really funny. Then all the kids show up for the dance with the teacher at the time the dance would start at. I'm like, a teacher would have come and done a recce on this place. Like, a teacher would not be arriving with the kids. The dance starts. And immediately then Casper comes down from his incredible playroom up in the basement, up in the attic, and
some room.
He's so dreamy that everyone, like the crowd, parts when he walks through the dance, and then him and her just like start wordlessly dancing.
He's a total dreamboat.
He is. And then she's like, Casper, and they look down and they're both levitating. It's like, that's a bit weird. And then they kiss.
Not weird, he's a ghost.
So they have presumably both of their first kiss, and then Casper just turns back into a ghost of a 4-year-old again.
A cartoon 4-year-old ghost. Yeah,
and that's
creepy.
So I was like, okay, so they've now like had a romantic encounter, right? And now he's back to being this, what is essentially a toddler ghost in her bedroom. And now is he just going to continue to sleep in her bed with her and stuff? Like, I thought Casper should have crossed over after the dance.
Yeah, but you know why they didn't do that? Sequel.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense because the whole point is like ghosts have to like have unfinished business.
It would have been, yeah, it's way better.
He had 2 unfinished businesses. One was that he fulfilled his father's wish of like bringing somebody back to life.
Yeah, and it's Judging Amy even says it to him. He says, she says, your father's so proud of you for fulfilling his wish.
Because there's one person can be brought back to life, and Casper chose for it to be Bill Pullman, who randomly died when he stepped out of a pub, and outside the pub was a bottomless pit,
ditch or something. Yeah.
So he brought Bill Pullman back to life.
He did the most noble thing. He remembered his whole identity. He literally has no unfinished business,
and he got to go to a dance and kiss a girl.
He needs to die. He needs to move on. And I totally agree with you. And I have no doubt that was the original ending, and that somebody said sequel in exactly that tone, because it's like at the end of Ghost, if spoiler alert for the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore,
fast forward a minute if you haven't seen Ghost,
if instead of that beautiful ending where he finally gets to, they say goodbye and he moves on, it was just like Do you know what? I'm going to stick around and solve crimes, a different one every week.
I'm going to stick around and just every time you try and kiss someone, jump at the photo frame with the picture of us and knock it over, because I know how much you love that.
Why don't we just hang out and do pottery day in, day out?
And Demi Moore just goes, ditto!
Oh, God.
No, but basically, he doesn't move on. Yeah, you're right about the sequel thing, but I just thought it was really creepy because he goes back to being this childlike figure. And it was interesting when I was...
He is a child. They're...
but then he's
12?
like, but he's like a tween in real life.
Yeah,
but he reminded me of our 3-year-old. Otherwise,
it's because he's a big cartoon eyes and
it was interesting because obviously it's based on a Harvey Comics cartoon character, but there's been some like a comic kind of character, but there's been some discourse around this film. Because, like, people who were true to the source material took issue with it. Because in the source material, Casper is a ghost that was born of ghosts. But in the film, they made him a little boy who died and then became a ghost. And the boy died of pneumonia. Though how they kind of got that across in the movie is that, I wanted the sled, my daddy bought me a sled, I went out in the sled, I got real cold and then I died. And you're like, huh? What did you die of?
It was probably a less gruesome injury than I was imagining. It was like horrific sledding accident is what was in my mind.
So apparently some of the comics in the 60s portrayed him as born of ghost to ghost parents.
I'm sorry, what's creepier? A sweet story of a boy who passed before his time and has unfinished business, or ghost born of ghosts? That sounds way more terrifying.
Well, in another fun fact, there was actually supposed to be a Casper 2, and it was going to happen a couple of years later, but they in the meantime made like a shitload of like straight to VHS prequels and sequels, and they made video games and they made all this stuff, and at that point they'd kind of just done it to death. And
the appetite for Casper had diminished.
Well, the appetite may not have diminished, but those things didn't perform hugely. And then Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci kind of lost interest. So I think at that point everyone just fell away from the project.
Yeah.
Also, you do diminish appetite to a point with all that straight to video stuff, but most people wouldn't have seen it. So I just think what would have been weirder is if it was like a couple of years later, and like Christina Ricci would have been quite old, and then Casper's like even younger.
Still fancies
her. I just think it would have been really inappropriate. But it made a lot of money. So it had a $55 million budget, which was a lot of money in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But it made $287 million. And in terms of it was 4 direct-to-video made for TV follow-up films and an animated television spin-off called The Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper.
Good.
Fun fact: the film was nominated.
Pun there.
The film was nominated for Worst Picture at the 1995 Stinkers Bad Movie
What?
Awards.
I'm sorry,
but lost to. Guess what? It lost to 1995. I think for a really bad.
Batman
movie.
and Robin.
No.
Batman Forever.
No Batman.
I mean, it could be going a while. Give me a clue.
Dancing.
This is not good audio.
Showgirls.
Showgirls.
Yeah. Showgirls.
I mean, Showgirls is dreadful. This is a good movie. I stand by it. It's a good family movie, guys.
And like we spoke about there being some kind of adult references. Like at one point, there's a very funny scene where Bill Pullman, Christina Ricci says to Bill Pullman over breakfast, "So sorry, guys, for that noise. We have a dash cam that kicks in whenever there's any movement, and it just keeps kicking in, even though we're sitting here in complete silence." Christina Ricci says, "I want to look nice for the dance, like date nice," and Bill Pullman's like, "Ooh, I think it's time we had to talk," and she goes, "Oh, don't worry, it's way too late for that," and he says, "How late?" and she goes, "Well, not that late."
Yeah, that's good.
I thought that was really good. And then there was like repeated use of the word bitch, which surprised me in a kids movie.
That probably pumped this up to a PG, I'd say.
Might have. Yeah. When the baddie woman is like, "That bitch is back."
Particularly because the American censor board is particularly sensitive to language more than violence.
Yeah, but it might be something like this. There's often like an amount of something that can be said before it bumps it up a classification, and they use the word bitch twice in reference to a woman.
Like these days, you're allowed to get one shit in a PG. I think.
That was in Australia.
Oh, that's just Australia.
You're allowed shit at PG level. I don't know what it is over here.
By the way, Cathy is a qualified classifier.
I wasn't.
Is that right? You did classification training.
Only in Australia.
Oh, just for Australia. All right, okay.
So only when we lived there did I do it. So I can speak to Australian classification guidelines for anyone who's interested. But yeah, I think it's definitely has that kind of fun 90s like slightly on the edge stuff that's aimed just at grown-ups, which I really enjoyed. And I think at the end, like, it just got all a bit silly. Like when Amy Brenneman / judging Amy shows up, like, to Bill Pullman, and she shows up with like her arms wide out, and she's just like a bird almost, floating in.
It reminded me of that the turnaround music video. Turn around.
Exactly,
it was just like that. It was just like this, the smoke and the billowing hair and the.
But I thought it was really nice when she said, like, the reason, because turns out she's an angel. She said the reason I'm not a ghost is like I don't have unfinished business. Like I'm really happy with how my life went, and I think you're a brilliant dad, and I don't want me to become your unfinished business. And I thought it was really nice.
A nice line. A few nice lines in this.
Yeah, but did you notice she didn't say, and I want you to move on with another woman? She said, I actually wrote it down. If I can find it. Probably can't find it. She said,
I think she said, you need to live that sweet bachelor life.
No, she said, I want to watch over both of you until we're together again, i.e. under no circumstances are you to find a new relationship or a new spouse or a new partner before you die.
It does kind of make it awkward, though, if you've got a dead spouse and you've suddenly confirmed not only the existence of the afterlife, but that they're watching your every movement from afar, then suddenly you are in some sort of surveillance
and they did
state.
Like kiss, like she was able to physically touch him and kiss him, so he's probably like, okay.
They're very much just they're entering into the long distance phase of their relationship.
I think if I haunted you, I'd do something similar.
Yeah, you'd watch over me every minute.
No, I'd drop
privacy, and you'd be like,
no, I wouldn't care to watch you every minute. I'd just drop enough hints that you'd know that you weren't allowed to move on, and you had to wait till the afterlife to see me again.
Right, well, I can't wait till you move on to the afterlife to haunt me and prevent me from going on Tinder.
No, you can go on Tinder because we live in a society where you can't leave your house. That's fine. You can have all the fun you want on Tinder, okay? But yeah, I think I've run out of fun facts now. That was it.
That was good. Well done, Cathy.
Thank
you. The thing that was bothering me while I was watching this, right, I realised, is that she's 12, 13, and apparently he's 12 by the thing, but he's not 12. He was 12 when he died. At least 100 years ago, judging from the state of his dad and his dad's inventions and the convenient newspapers telling us of his dad's being labelled legally insane and put in an asylum.
But can we just talk about
which
that?
Also bothered me because who left that paper there?
But also,
after the dad had been committed.
Yeah, that bothered me for sure. But also, the dad had created like this incredible machine with the elixir of life to bring his son back from the dead, and the machine was ready to go. And the dad had presumably, from how the newspapers described it, been just wandering about town and boasting to everyone how he'd built it, right?
Yeah, because the headline was, man invents...
man claims to invent machine to bring a dead son back. Why didn't he just do it?
Day.
They were at home together. He left to go and tell everyone in the town his news.
Yeah.
I guess because
here's what happened. Here's the timeline of events. He literally invents a Lazarus machine which brings people back from the dead.
Yeah.
Done. So excited.
In his haunted ghost mansion room.
Yeah, with his son present, who is dead and requires it.
Yeah.
Says, son, wait here. We have to tell the local press about this. We'll have a big launch, red ribbon cut.
I guess you kind of want to show off if you're able to recreate human
instead
life.
of just actually doing it and proving. The local news editor is like, you're a madman, and then tells the police, at which stage he gets locked up. Local news editor then, this is a great story, let's run it.
Yeah.
Man claims to have created way to bring back death. That's the first part of the story because he hasn't been committed yet. Then the next day,
because there's 3 different newspapers.
There's the follow-up, right? Then he gets committed, right? So Casper's waiting in the house.
Yeah.
Then the same newspaper editor says, whatever happened to that guy who invented the thing? And then it's like, he was legally committed, Joe. And it's like, that's page 1. And this is on Friday. This is a few days later. So this is the next day. And at this stage...
Dave, is this the same critique you leveled at it back in 1995 when you trashed the movie? Your cousin?
And at this stage, the local journalist who covered the story...
Dave just hit the dash and now the dash cam.
Nobody cares about the dash cam. And the local journalist decides to go to the house to see if he can find the Lazarus machine with the newspaper that's just been printed saying that this man has been legally committed, at which time he is spooked by Casper and a number of ghosts and drops his newspaper, which is why that there's a newspaper with the headline, "Father is legally committed," after he has been legally committed.
But now you've just made me think of fatal flaw in the movie. So Casper claims to Christina Ricci that he can't remember anything about the life he lived now that he's dead. But then when he starts remembering everything because she magically recreates his playroom in the space of 5 minutes, he then...
didn't even get a cleaning montage.
No, he suddenly then remembered everything about what had happened after he died, which is that his dad had built this machine and was going to bring him back from the dead.
Well, but why didn't he remember after he died?
Exactly.
Yes.
Is it because 100 years had subsequently passed? To your point.
Which is my point. He's 112 years old, at least.
Yeah, but it often seems like that in ghost things. It's like you're stuck, you're talking about the unfinished business or whatever, but also it's like you're stuck in the mental state. Like, think about Casper. Yeah, he might be 100 years old, but like he's just lived in this creaky old house being like a slave to his three.
Yeah, but his brain is mature. But
does a ghost brain mature?
And that is the question at the heart of this movie. Does a ghost brain mature?
His body certainly hasn't matured, because he's got the body of a 4-year-old.
Think of Interview with the Vampire and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, but Kirsten Dunst is out and about murdering people and stuff. Casper's just been there cooking. So actually, I liked the when he cooks for the uncles and they eat the food, it rots and lands on the ground as rotten fruit and veg, which I thought was quite cool. I think we've probably done enough of spoiler discussion on Casper.
I'm glad we went so deep on this movie that nobody wanted to listen to an episode about.
A movie I honestly never thought I'd see in the cinema.
It's just so funny that this is the world we live in, where we're like, now put the kids to bed. It's like, right, big night out. We were so excited. It's like we went to see Casper after the kids had gone down.
But you know what? It's so interesting that we saw Bill and Ted a couple of weeks ago, because Bill and Ted 3 is a new movie, right? And we enjoyed elements of it, but we had a lot of issues with it as well. This was much better.
Movie.
This was so much better.
Yeah,
this is of course a huge budget Hollywood movie, and in its day it was a blockbuster. But it's just so good.
But this is entertaining.
Yeah,
it's funny. Yeah. It's quite sweet and emotional. It's got broad appeal. I just think this movie's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, and it's got a high school dance with a dreamy love boat.
Yeah, which is all either of us ever want to see in a movie.
Yeah, and Bill Pullman.
I just want dreamy 12-year-old love boats. Jesus Christ!
And even
I wish I could take that sentence
David
back.
said he thought it was Macaulay Culkin, and I was like, I don't know who it is. And then it was like, it's reveal. I'm telling you guys, you have to go and watch it if you haven't. This kid comes down the stairs, we only see the back of his head. He walks through the crowd, you only see the back of his head. He starts dancing with her, you can only see the back of his head, to the point where I'm like,
the crowd are basically gasping at how attractive he is.
I was like, is it River Phoenix? Is it Brad Renfro? Like, I'm so excited. And then he turned around and I'm like, I have no idea who this actor is.
It wasn't Macaulay Culkin.
So disappointing.
But let me tell you where I got Macaulay Culkin from, because I googled it.
You googled, why do I think Macaulay Culkin's in Casper the Friendly Ghost?
Exactly that, and there was a whole article with that exact headline.
Really?
And no, there wasn't. Yeah, so it turns out Macaulay Culkin and Devon Sawa, who played the real life version of Casper in this, had been having sort of some mock online rivalry about 2 years ago. And as part of this online feud they were having over Twitter as rival 90s childhood stars.
I think there's no competition really. One was much bigger than the other.
Yeah, I know, right? Macaulay Culkin did a stunt where he had a headshot of him as an 8-year-old and wrote "Fuck you, Casper" on the on the headshot, and that was a picture.
But weirdly, the voice of Casper, because Casper's a baby, the animated ghost, the voice of Casper was some guy called Malachi. So it only turned into this tween heartthrob right at the end. So why didn't it have the same voice?
Because Devon Sawa had the wrong. It's like when Colin Firth played Paddington, and it seems like great casting, but then it just didn't work. So they had to get Ben Wheatley in, or Ben Whishaw. Or
I know what you mean. It must have been also because then like Casper would have been like. Felt like more like her age the whole time, and maybe she would have found it creepy when he like lay in bed kissing her.
Yeah, suddenly Casper would be all smooth and suave. He'd be like, "Hey baby," it'd be a bit creepy. It was like, "Hey baby, there's a girl in my bed."
Yeah, it was just gross.
Than, "Oh my god, there's a girl in my bed."
It's interesting. We've watched a lot of things with ghosts lately. We've been watching. Well, we watched 2 episodes of The Haunting of Bly Manor, which was terrible.
Which is terrible.
Yeah,
and a really awful follow up to The Haunting of Hill House, which is a great show.
Then we've been watching Ghosts, the sitcom on BBC,
which is brilliant.
So totally love Ghosts. And now, soon, we will be putting up a poll on Twitter, our patented Halloween Twitter poll, where we'll get you guys to pick what we're going to watch for Halloween.
I thought this was it.
No.
Is this an Halloween
episode?
This
is a trip to the cinema.
Oh, okay, wow. But this is the spooktacular Casper.
A random Casper that happened to be on in a drive-through cinema is not our patented Halloween episode.
Patented?
Yeah.
You did file the patent.
Of course. the Cinemile episode that gets released in October every year where we watch a horror film. No one else thinks of that. Then. This is how we make the big money.
Well, look out for that on Twitter at the Cinemile, and you can vote for what Halloween movie you want us to watch this year. And we mean horror movie.
But honestly, because
Halloween.
It's been a tough year for everyone, and everyone's a bit fragile. I just recommend watching Casper, not watching a scary movie. Frankly,
it was spectacular, though.
Yeah, it was spectacular. Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. Head over if you wouldn't mind doing so. We would love if you could subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts and rate us, particularly on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us. We're also on Spotify. We are on the Acast app, and we're on Stitcher and
wherever podcasts
wherever you can get podcasts. And we're on patreon.com/the Cinemile, where we review retro movies much like this and TV shows, and we have loads of fun over there. And thank you everyone for listening.
And we just watched Leon the Professional, if you want.
Yes, we just watched Leon the Professional.
Review of that. Kathy and her sister Elizabeth had not seen it before.
And what was the theme for Leon again?
Film debuts.
Film debuts.
So you get to choose, if you join our Patreon over there, you get to choose what movies you want us to watch next, and they are based on themes suggested by you, the audience.
Yeah, and this month the theme suggested by one of our Patreons, Brona, had been movies where one of the lead roles is played by a now famous actor in their debut, which we had loads of good suggestions on, and then we made a poll, and Leon the Professional won for Natalie Portman, who is wonderful in Leon the Professional, but it was great to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Now, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Come and say hi at the Cinemile everywhere, or thecinemile@gmail.com.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. Though grown-ups might look at him with fright, the children all love him so. He always says hello, and he's really glad to meet you wherever he may go. He's kind to every living creature.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What do you do when no one else is watching? What do you do that makes you happy for no reason at all? What are you obsessed with? I'm Leslie Arfin, and I'm a writer, but I'm also a dancer, a painter, a vapor, a dollhouse enthusiast, and basically just an overall hobbyist. My podcast, Filling the Void, is all about what other people are fanatically into. We talk about hobbies, even if you don't have one.
Listen to Filling the Void on Tuesdays on the Arios Network, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.